What if I told you that the Olsen twins' billion-dollar empire was built on a foundation so dark that they had to completely vanish from Hollywood to survive? The real reason Mary-Kate and Ashley disappeared isn't what you think, and the shocking revelations about their childhood will change everything you thought you knew about America's most famous twins. Before we dive into the disturbing truth that forced them into hiding, hit that like button if you remember watching the Olsen twins growing up, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories. You see them maybe once a year now, wrapped in oversized black coats like they're hiding from something or someone. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen went from being everywhere to being nowhere. And the real reason why is more disturbing than anyone wants to admit. Because what happened to these twins wasn't just child stardom gone wrong. It was something much darker. Let me take you back to 1986. June 13th, to be exact. Two baby girls are born in Sherman Oaks, California. Ashley arrives first, then Mary-Kate 2 minutes later. Their parents, Jarnett and David Olsen, have no idea that in just 6 months, these babies will become the most exploited child stars in television history. And I use that word deliberately, exploited. Because what happened next set off a chain of events so twisted, it would take the twins decades to recover, if they ever truly have. At just 9 months old, not even walking yet, Mary-Kate and Ashley were thrust in front of cameras for Full House. Think about that for a second. 9 months old. Most babies that age are just learning to crawl. But the Olsen twins? They were already working full-time jobs. The show's creator, Jeff Franklin, later admitted he chose them because they were unusually comfortable around strangers. But that comfort came at a devastating price. Here's something that will shock you. During the first season of Full House, Ashley was too terrified to be on set. She would cry uncontrollably whenever the cameras rolled. So Mary-Kate, barely a toddler herself, had to do most of the filming alone. John Stamos, who played Uncle Jesse, actually tried to have them fired because their constant crying made filming impossible. He admitted years later that working with them was a nightmare. The producers even brought in other babies to replace them, but those children cried even more. So the twins stayed, trapped. But here's where it gets truly dark. By age 3, their parents had already turned them into a business. They hired Robert Thorne as a manager and created Dual Star Entertainment, essentially selling their daughters' childhoods to the highest bidder. By 6 years old, Mary-Kate and Ashley weren't just actors. They were CEOs, the youngest producers in Hollywood history. While other kids were learning to tie their shoes, these girls were signing million-dollar deals. The numbers are staggering. By age 10, they were millionaires. By 18, their empire was worth nearly $1 billion. But every dollar came with a price tag written in lost childhood memories. Mary-Kate once said something that still haunts me. She said looking at photos of herself as a child felt like looking at a stranger. She called herself and her sister little monkey performers. Can you imagine not even recognizing your own childhood self because you were too busy being a product? The Washington Post published something disturbing in 1991. They wrote that audiences loved the twins despite their little acting talent. They were literally admitting these children were being exploited for their cuteness, not their abilities. They were props, living dolls for America to play with. And then, just as Full House ended in 1995, their parents' marriage exploded. But this wasn't just any divorce. David Olsen had been having an affair with his mortgage industry colleague Mackenzie throughout the show's run. 1 month after the divorce was finalized, he married her. The family split down the middle. Ashley refused to attend the wedding, staying with her devastated mother. Mary-Kate went, creating a rift between the sisters that took years to heal. But wait, it gets worse. Because what happened next would send one of them straight to the hospital. The early 2000s should have been the twins' time to finally be teenagers. Instead, the media turned them into prey. Websites with countdowns to their 18th birthdays started popping up everywhere. Grown adults were literally counting down the days until these children became legal. The sexualization was so extreme that the twins later said it was their worst nightmare. Then came the breaking point. In 2004, just weeks after graduating high school, Mary-Kate collapsed. The official story was exhaustion. The truth was much darker. She weighed 82 pounds. Her organs were shutting down. Her father found her barely conscious and rushed her to a treatment facility. The doctors told him if they'd waited another day, she might have D-worded. The media's response was cruel beyond belief. Tabloids mocked her appearance. Comedians made jokes about her weight. Even when the twins appeared on Oprah to promote their new film, Oprah herself grilled them about Mary-Kate's eating disorder, demanding to know their dress sizes on national television. Mary-Kate sat there, fighting for her life, while America laughed at her pain. But here's what nobody talks about. While Mary-Kate was in treatment, something else was happening. The twins had enrolled at NYU, hoping to finally have a normal college experience. They bought a $7.3 million penthouse in the West Village. They tried to go to classes like regular students. It lasted exactly 1 semester. Spencer Pratt, yes, that Spencer Pratt from the Hills, destroyed any chance they had at normalcy. He secretly photographed Mary-Kate at a party and sold the photos for $50,000. He bragged about it publicly. The twins couldn't even trust their classmates. Everyone around them was a potential paparazzi, a potential betrayal waiting to happen. So they dropped out. They vanished. And that's when things got really dark. 2008 changed everything. Mary-Kate had been quietly dating someone who would soon make headlines for all the wrong reasons. His name was Heath Ledger. They'd been seeing each other for 3 months. Nothing serious, according to friends. Just 2 people who understood what it was like to be consumed by fame. On January 22nd, 2008, Heath's masseuse found him unresponsive in his Manhattan apartment. But here's the part that still doesn't make sense. She didn't call 911 first. She called Mary-Kate twice. Mary-Kate was in California, 3,000 miles away, but the masseuse called her before calling for help. Why? What did she know? What was she trying to hide? Mary-Kate immediately said she would send her private security to the apartment. Again, why private security and not an ambulance? By the time 911 was finally called, it was too late. Heath was gone. The official cause was an accidental overdose of prescription medications. But the story doesn't end there. When investigators wanted to question Mary-Kate about Heath's final hours, she refused. Her lawyer demanded immunity from prosecution before she would talk. The DEA got involved. The FBI got involved. But Mary-Kate stayed silent. To this day, she's never publicly discussed what she knew about Heath's death. The case was eventually dropped, but the questions remain. What was Mary-Kate protecting? Who was she protecting? After Heath's death, the twins completely withdrew from public life. They stopped acting entirely. They refused to do interviews. They built a fashion empire worth billions, but they did it from the shadows. Their brand, The Row, became one of the most exclusive luxury labels in the world. A single dress cost $6,500. They once sold out a $39,000 alligator backpack, but you'll never see them promoting it. You'll never see them at store openings. They've become ghosts. And honestly, who can blame them? By the time they turned 30, they'd been through more trauma than most people experience in a lifetime. Failed marriages, eating disorders, addiction struggles, the death of a lover, the betrayal of their childhood, the loss of their parents' marriage, the complete erasure of any chance at normalcy. Is it any wonder they disappeared? But here's something that just happened. For the first time in 2025, the twins were spotted together in public. They were photographed at their Row store, no makeup, just working quietly on their collection. Ashley now has a baby son named Otto with her husband Louis Eisner, an artist she married in secret in 2022. She never announced her pregnancy. She never announced the birth. The world only found out months later through leaked reports. Mary-Kate went through a brutal divorce from French banker Olivier Sarkozy during the pandemic. He tried to K-word her out of their apartment while courts were closed due to lockdown. She had to file emergency motions just to get her belongings. She moved in with Ashley and spent months in hiding. Both sisters now live lives of extreme privacy. They don't have social media. They don't do red carpets unless absolutely necessary. When they do appear in public, they're covered head to toe, usually in black, always with sunglasses, even indoors. They communicate mainly through their fashion, letting their clothes speak when they won't. Their younger sister, Elizabeth, became the actress the twins never got to be. She's Scarlet Witch in the Marvel movies. She's living the life they might have had if they'd been given a choice. Elizabeth once said she feels guilty about her success because she knows what her sisters sacrificed. She knows the price they paid for the Olsen name to mean something in Hollywood. The truth about what happened to them is darker than just child stardom gone wrong. It's about an industry that literally consumed 2 children for profit. From 9 months old, they were products, not people. Every moment of their childhood was monetized. Every photo was a paycheck for someone else. Every appearance was a performance they couldn't escape. The smoking, the dramatic weight loss, the refusal to be seen in public, it all makes sense when you understand they're not hiding from fame. They're hiding from trauma. The cigarettes they're constantly photographed with aren't just a bad habit. They're a coping mechanism for anxiety so severe that Mary-Kate once got kicked out of a Fashion Week party for refusing to stop smoking indoors. She literally couldn't stop, even when threatened with expulsion from an event for her own brand. In 2015, their former interns sued them for running a sweatshop. The interns claimed they worked 50-hour weeks without pay, doing the work of full employees. One intern was hospitalized for dehydration after being forced to carry heavy coats in 100-degree heat. The twins settled out of court for $140,000, but the message was clear. They'd learned from their own exploitation. They'd become the exploiters. Their beloved TV dad, Bob Saget, passed away in January 2022. The twins called him the most loving, compassionate, and generous man. They were among the only Full House cast members who maintained a real relationship with him after the show ended. When Fuller House was announced, everyone returned except Mary-Kate and Ashley. They were offered any amount of money to appear. They said no. They wouldn't even do a cameo. That's how deep the trauma runs. Ashley has been secretly battling Lyme disease for years. In 2016, she nearly lost her life to a botched plastic surgery that caused tissue necrosis in her face. Her skin was literally dying. She needed intensive oxygen therapy to survive, yet she's never spoken about it publicly. The twins would rather suffer in silence than give the media any more ammunition. The saddest part is that at 38 years old, they're still running, still hiding. They've built a billion-dollar empire, but they can't enjoy it. They've created beautiful things, but they can't celebrate them. They've survived everything Hollywood threw at them, but survival isn't the same as living. When you see those rare photos of them now, bundled in black, faces hidden, rushing from car to building, remember what you're really seeing. You're seeing 2 women who were never allowed to be children, who were turned into products before they could walk, who lost everything that makes childhood magical because adults decided their innocence was worth less than money. The Olsen twins didn't disappear from Hollywood. They escaped from it. And the fact that they had to build a billion-dollar fortress just to protect themselves from an industry that destroyed them as children should disturb all of us. Because if it could happen to them with all their money and power, what chance do other child stars have? The truth is, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen are still those terrified babies on the Full House set, crying for their mothers while cameras rolled. They're still those 6-year-olds being told they're CEOs when they should have been playing with dolls. They're still those teenagers being mocked for their bodies while fighting for their lives. They're still running from a childhood that was stolen before it ever began. And that's the real tragedy of the Olsen twins. Not that they disappeared, but that they never really got to appear in the first place. They were ghosts from the very beginning, products pretending to be people. And now, finally, they're trying to just be human, even if that means the world never sees them again. If this story shocked you, hit subscribe and ring the notification bell because the dark truths of Hollywood go deeper than you can imagine. And I'll keep exposing them, one story at a time.